Hello everyone, Dr. Alan Mandell here. Welcome back to my channel, Science of Healing. Everyone thinks it's just the flu until that symptom appears. You wake up with a sore throat, a little fever, body aches. You tell yourself, it's seasonal, I'll be fine. But then something changes. The fatigue becomes crushing. Your chest feels tight. Breathing feels heavier than it should. And suddenly, it's not just the flu anymore. Right now, respiratory infections are affecting millions worldwide. In recent waves, over 19 million cases of respiratory viral illness were reported in a single season across multiple regions. And what doctors are warning about is not just the infection itself, it's the complication that can quietly follow. Today, I'm going to explain what's really happening inside your body, the red flag symptom you must never ignore, and most importantly, how simple, science-backed foods can strengthen your immune system and help protect your lungs naturally. Let's break this down clearly. When a respiratory virus enters your body, whether it's influenza, RSV, or another strain, it attaches to the cells lining your nose, throat, and lungs. Your immune system immediately responds. White blood cells release inflammatory chemicals to fight the invader. That's why you feel fever, aches, congestion, and fatigue. Fever is not your enemy. It's your body's defense mechanism trying to kill the virus. But here's the problem. Sometimes the immune response becomes excessive. The inflammation spreads deeper into the lungs. The tiny air sacs called alveoli begin to fill with fluid and inflammatory debris. Oxygen transfer becomes less efficient, and that's when the dangerous symptom appears, shortness of breath that worsens instead of improves. This is the moment doctors worry about complications like pneumonia or severe lower respiratory inflammation. So what can you do? First, understand this clearly. Food does not cure viral infections, but nutrition profoundly influences how effectively your immune system responds and how quickly your body recovers. Let's talk about powerful, evidence-based immune-supporting foods you can use daily. It always begins the same way: a scratch in the throat, a mild fever, a little fatigue you brush off as stress or lack of sleep. You tell yourself it's just the flu. Everyone around you has something similar. It feels ordinary, familiar, harmless, but inside your body, something far more serious may already be unfolding. Respiratory viruses infect millions every single year. In severe seasons, tens of millions of cases are reported globally. Most people recover, but what doctors fear is not the fever, not the cough, not even the body aches. It's the moment when breathing begins to change, because when breathing changes, the stakes change. When a virus enters your body, it attaches to the cells lining your respiratory tract. Within hours, it begins replicating. Your immune system responds aggressively, releasing inflammatory chemicals designed to destroy the invader. That inflammation is what causes fever. It's what causes muscle pain. It's what makes you feel exhausted. These symptoms are signs that your body is fighting back, but inflammation is a double-edged sword. In some cases, especially in older adults, people with chronic conditions, or even healthy individuals with an intense immune response, that inflammation spreads deeper into the lungs. The tiny air sacs called alveoli, responsible for exchanging oxygen into your bloodstream, begin to fill with fluid and inflammatory debris. Oxygen cannot move efficiently, carbon dioxide cannot escape properly, and your body begins to struggle for air. At first, it's subtle. You notice you're slightly more winded walking to the bathroom. Climbing stairs feels unusually hard. You need to pause mid-sentence to catch your breath. You assume it's weakness from fever, but physiologically, something more dangerous may be happening. Research shows that viral pneumonia can develop rapidly, sometimes within days of initial symptoms. Studies published in major medical journals demonstrate that once lower respiratory involvement begins, oxygen saturation levels can drop silently without dramatic warning signs. This is what physicians call silent hypoxia. You may not feel dramatic distress at first, yet your blood oxygen is already falling. This is the turning point. Shortness of breath that worsens instead of improves is the red flag doctors warn about. Not a mild cough, not congestion, but progressive difficulty breathing. When oxygen levels drop, every organ in your body feels it. Your heart beats faster to compensate. Your brain becomes foggy. Your muscles weaken. Prolonged oxygen deprivation can lead to organ damage. In severe cases, respiratory failure can occur, requiring hospitalization and oxygen support. And here is the alarming fact. Many patients delay seeking help because they assume it's still just the flu. Data from respiratory illness outbreaks show that delayed medical care significantly increases the risk of complications. Early intervention, whether oxygen therapy, antiviral medication, or supportive treatment, dramatically improves outcomes. Timing is everything. If breathing becomes labored, if you feel chest tightness, if you cannot take a full breath comfortably, if speaking in full sentences becomes difficult, these are not normal flu symptoms. These are warning signals. Bluish lips or fingertips indicate low oxygen saturation. Persistent chest pain can signal lung inflammation or secondary infection. Confusion or unusual drowsiness may mean the brain is not receiving adequate oxygen. These symptoms demand immediate medical attention. Your lungs are extraordinary organs. They contain approximately 300 million alveoli, providing a massive surface area for oxygen exchange, nearly the size of a tennis court. But that vast surface area also makes them vulnerable when inflammation spreads. Inflammation thickens the alveolar walls. Fluid accumulation blocks air movement. Oxygen diffusion becomes impaired. What once required no effort, a simple breath, becomes a conscious struggle. The body compensates at first. Respiratory rate increases. The heart pumps faster. But compensation has limits. If the underlying inflammation is not controlled, exhaustion follows, and respiratory distress can escalate quickly. This is why doctors emphasize monitoring symptoms carefully during viral illness. Improvement should be gradual and consistent. Fever should begin to decline. Energy should slowly return. Breathing should remain stable or improve. If the opposite happens, if breathing worsens, that is your body's alarm system. Scientific evidence consistently shows that pneumonia remains one of the leading complications of respiratory viral infections worldwide. Millions are hospitalized annually due to lower respiratory complications, yet early detection dramatically lowers mortality risk. Pulse oximeters, small devices placed on the fingertip, can measure oxygen saturation. Normal levels typically range from 95% to 100% in healthy individuals. Persistent readings below normal, especially below 92%, require urgent evaluation. This simple tool has helped detect silent hypoxia early in countless cases. But technology alone is not the answer. Awareness is. Understanding that worsening breathlessness is not normal flu recovery can save lives. Trusting your intuition when something feels different can make the difference between mild illness and severe complication. The body whispers before it screams. Mild fatigue is a whisper. A sore throat is a whisper. But progressive breathlessness is the body raising its voice. And here's something critically important. Severe complications do not only affect the elderly. While risk increases with age and chronic disease, previously healthy adults have also developed rapid lower respiratory involvement during aggressive viral seasons. No one is completely immune to risk. This is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create awareness. Most viral infections resolve with rest, hydration, and supportive care. The immune system is incredibly powerful, but recognizing the tipping point is essential. If you notice increasing shortness of breath over hours or days, if you feel like you cannot draw a deep breath, if lying flat makes breathing harder, do not wait for it to pass. Seek medical care promptly. Early evaluation may reveal normal oxygen levels and provide reassurance, or it may detect early pneumonia that can be treated before it becomes severe. Either way, acting early shifts the odds in your favor. Breathing is life. Every cell in your body depends on oxygen. The brain can only survive minutes without it. The heart cannot function without it. The immune system itself requires oxygen to fight infection effectively. So when your breathing changes, everything changes. Do not ignore what your body is telling you. Do not dismiss worsening breathlessness as weakness. Do not delay because it feels inconvenient. Millions may experience flu-like symptoms each year. Most recover fully. But the difference between routine illness and emergency often comes down to one symptom and one decision. The symptom is worsening shortness of breath. The decision is whether you listen, because sometimes it starts like the flu, and sometimes it doesn't end that way. Stay aware, stay informed, and above all, protect your breath. Your immune system is not a pill. It is not a supplement. It is not a quick fix you swallow when you feel sick. It is a living, breathing defense network made of trillions of cells, chemical messengers, and microscopic warriors working every second to keep you alive. And whether it protects you powerfully or struggles silently depends largely on what you feed it every single day. Most people wait until they're already sick to think about immunity. By then, the battle has already begun. Viruses replicate within hours of entering your body. Research shows that some respiratory viruses can multiply exponentially in the first 24 to 48 hours. That means your immune system must be prepared before the invasion begins. Preparation is everything. Let's start with something simple: garlic, not as folklore, not as tradition, but as science. Garlic contains a sulfur compound called allicin, released when a clove is crushed or chopped. Laboratory studies show allicin enhances the activity of macrophages and natural killer cells, two critical components of your innate immune response. These cells are your body's first responders. They identify infected cells and destroy them before viruses spread deeper. In controlled human trials, individuals who consumed garlic daily experienced fewer and shorter upper respiratory infections compared to placebo groups. That is not mythology. That is immunology in action. But garlic must be used correctly. Crushing it and allowing it to sit for several minutes activates the enzymatic reaction that forms allicin. Heat can reduce its potency. Adding it raw to warm soups after cooking preserves more of its immune supportive compounds. A simple clove a day may seem small, but small daily actions compound into biological strength. Now consider ginger. Beneath its spicy warmth lies gingerol, a bioactive compound with powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Chronic inflammation weakens immune efficiency. Studies show that ginger can reduce inflammatory markers and support respiratory health. In laboratory research, ginger extracts have demonstrated activity against certain respiratory pathogens and have been shown to help relax airway smooth muscle. When inflammation is controlled, immune cells function more effectively. A warm infusion of fresh ginger steeped in water is not just comforting, it delivers compounds that interact directly with inflammatory pathways inside your body. Then there is turmeric. Curcumin, its active compound, has been studied in thousands of peer-reviewed papers. Curcumin modulates immune signaling pathways, including NF-κB, a key regulator of inflammation. When inflammation becomes excessive, it can damage healthy tissue. Curcumin helps balance that response. But here is the critical detail: curcumin alone is poorly absorbed. Black pepper contains piperine, which enhances curcumin absorption dramatically. This is not culinary coincidence. It is biochemical synergy. A half teaspoon of turmeric combined with a pinch of black pepper in warm milk or broth becomes a daily immune investment backed by pharmacological research. Vitamin C is perhaps the most misunderstood nutrient in immunity. It does not make you invincible. It does not prevent every infection, but it plays a fundamental role in immune cell function. Vitamin C accumulates inside white blood cells, protecting them from oxidative damage while they fight pathogens. Clinical research indicates that adequate vitamin C intake can reduce the duration and severity of respiratory infections, particularly in individuals under physical stress. Citrus fruits, guava, kiwi, and bell peppers provide not only vitamin C, but also flavonoids that enhance its function. Whole foods deliver a complex matrix of nutrients working together, something synthetic supplements cannot fully replicate. Zinc is equally critical. Even mild zinc deficiency impairs immune cell development and communication. Zinc influences T cell function, antibody production, and antiviral defense mechanisms. Studies have shown that zinc lozenges, when used early during respiratory symptoms, may reduce the duration of illness. But long-term immune resilience comes from consistent dietary intake. Pumpkin seeds, legumes, eggs, nuts. These are not exotic superfoods. They are accessible, practical sources of micronutrients your immune system depends on. And here is something even more profound. Your immune system lives largely in your gut. Nearly 70% of immune cells reside in gut-associated lymphoid tissue. What you eat shapes your gut microbiome. Trillions of bacteria that interact directly with immune regulation. Diets rich in fiber from vegetables, fruits, and whole foods feed beneficial bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids. These compounds strengthen the intestinal barrier and reduce systemic inflammation. A weakened gut barrier allows inflammatory molecules to enter circulation, impairing immune efficiency. Every meal either strengthens that barrier or weakens it. Hydration is another overlooked pillar. During infection, fever increases fluid loss. Dehydration thickens mucus, impairing its ability to trap and clear pathogens. Adequate water intake supports lymphatic circulation, the system that transports immune cells throughout your body. Warm broths provide not only fluids, but also amino acids necessary for tissue repair. When you hydrate, you are literally improving the transport system of your immune defense. Sugar tells a different story. Research has demonstrated that high sugar intake can suppress white blood cell function for several hours after consumption. Elevated blood glucose impairs neutrophil activity, the very cells responsible for engulfing invading pathogens. When you are fighting infection, excessive refined sugar becomes an obstacle. Reducing added sugars is not about dieting. It is about removing barriers to immune efficiency. Sleep may be the most powerful immune enhancer of all. During deep sleep, your body releases cytokines, proteins that regulate immune response. Studies show that individuals who sleep less than 6 hours per night are significantly more likely to develop symptomatic infections after viral exposure compared to those who sleep 7 or more hours. Sleep is not laziness. It is biological repair. Vitamin D deserves attention as well. Immune cells possess vitamin D receptors. Adequate vitamin D levels influence antimicrobial peptide production, molecules that directly neutralize pathogens. Low vitamin D status has been associated with increased susceptibility to respiratory infections in multiple studies. Safe sunlight exposure and appropriate dietary sources support this essential hormone-like vitamin. And finally, stress. Chronic psychological stress elevates cortisol. Prolonged high cortisol suppresses immune cell activity and increases inflammation. Controlled breathing, meditation, prayer, and mindful practices have been shown to lower stress hormones and enhance immune markers. The mind and immune system are intimately connected. Emotional health translates into cellular defense. Here is the truth. No single food will make you invincible. No spice will eliminate all risk. But daily habits create biological resilience. Immune strength is cumulative. It is built meal by meal, night by night, choice by choice. Your body is constantly preparing for the next exposure. Viruses are inevitable, but severity is not always inevitable. Research repeatedly shows that nutritional status influences immune competence. Micronutrient deficiencies correlate with higher infection risk and worse outcomes. Adequate nourishment correlates with stronger immune response and faster recovery. Every clove of garlic, every cup of ginger tea, every serving of colorful fruits and vegetables is a signal to your immune system that resources are available, that it can respond efficiently, that it can defend you without excessive collateral damage. You cannot control every pathogen you encounter, but you can control the environment inside your body. And inside that environment, every bite matters. Strengthen the terrain, feed the defense, prepare before the battle begins. Because immunity is not built when you get sick. It is built long before. You don't build a strong immune system the day you get sick. You reveal the one you've been building every single day before that moment. When a virus enters your body, it does not wait for you to start eating better. It does not pause while you decide to sleep more. It immediately tests the strength of habits you've practiced for months or ignored for years.